This is K&N Series 57 FIPK intake with a drop-in air filter, and it's basically a form of an aftermarket cold air intake that'll reuse a stock airbox in the 2015 and newer GT Mustang. This intake does not require a tune, and it's a good way to keep costs down since this is a no-tune required upgrade, and it reuses a stock airbox, so it's a lot less expensive than your other options. And since this is no tune required, it means that you can purchase this now and install it for a better performance and better looks under the hood, and add a tune later on to really reap the benefits. The install for this is going to be easy. It's a 1 out of 3 wrenches in the difficulty meter. You can plan on spending about an hour to get this installed. So the good thing about a no tune required intake is obvious. It doesn't require a tune. So you get the benefits of a cold air intake, the sound, and the looks without having to pay for a tune as well. But just because this intake doesn't require a tune doesn't mean that you can't pair it with a tune. In fact, you get the most performance benefits from the intake when you do pair it with a tune. Without a tune, you're looking at gaining a couple of horsepower. And we're going to put the car in the dyno in a minute and test this intake with a tune, so you guys can see the power potential here. The K&N is going to come with a few pieces. You'll have everything here that you need for the install. You have your air filter, your inlet tube, clamps, an adapter for the filter, and a coupler for the filter as well. And it's going to come with all the necessary hardware that you need to get this intake installed. You are going to reuse your stock airbox, which means at the end of the day that you have the performance benefits of the factory setup, the enclosed airbox, and the direct cold air feed in the grill from outside of the car. And the new K&N filter will help you get around the restrictions of the stock paper filter, so you reuse what's good here and upgrade where the factory setup is lacking. Taking a look at some of the components of the intake, the air filter is an oiled, reusable filter, and it's made from layers of cotton gauze and screens that are epoxy coated for durability and filtration. The oil is used to treat the cotton gauze to give it a tackiness and give it the filtration abilities that it needs. And what's nice about a reusable filter is that you can clean the filter when it's dirty and reinstall it, and you don't have to worry about having to purchase a new filter every time. The intake tube is a black plastic tube, and this, plus the fact that you reuse a stock airbox, is going to be the biggest differentiator between this K&N intake and the Series 69. The Series 69 has a polished aluminum intake tube, and that's going to look totally different in the engine bay. As far as price goes, since this doesn't include an airbox like a traditional aftermarket cold air intake would, it's a more budget-friendly option. You can expect to pay close to $170 for this intake, which is less expensive than any other cold air intake option currently. When it comes to the install, you're looking at an easy install and a 1 out of 3 wrenches in the difficulty meter. You can plan on spending an hour here, and you'll need a basic socket set and a flat head for the push pins. Like I mentioned earlier, the intake will come with all of the items that you need to complete the install. You don't need to remove the factory airbox to install this intake since you'll be reusing it. You just need to remove your intake tube, disconnect any connections to the tube, and loosen the clamps. Swap out that tube for your new K&N inlet tube and reconnect your old connections. Next, you'll need to swap out your factory air filter. Just open the box and replace the paper filter with a K&N filter. Now that we have this intake installed, let's get this car in the dyno and compare some numbers. We spun the car in the dyno before the intake was installed, and we saw numbers of 382 horsepower and 359 foot-pounds of torque with the stock intake and no tune on the car. After the intake was installed and a Bama tune uploaded, we saw numbers of 407 horsepower and 387 foot-pounds of torque. It makes for a peak gain of 25 horsepower and 28 foot-pounds of torque. And like usual, peak gains are always nice to know, but what's really important are the curve gains. The curve gains are the gains that you're going to notice in your daily driving. You're looking at 33 horsepower at 5,100 RPM and 38 foot-pounds of torque at 4,300 RPM. That's going to do it for this review of the K&N Series 57 FIPK Modular Intake Tube with a drop-in air filter for the 2015 and newer GT. You can always check it out more online right here at AmericanMuscle.com.